This is my idea for hole one. As you can see here, it is up against the pine trees. We can't play in the pine trees themselves because it acts as a nice windbreaker for the rest of the open field, the parking lot. The idea is to go around the pine trees, come up to a right with a slight elevation, tucked against two mature trees. What I will eventually have to do, or if I like to do it, is removing about 2 or 3 of the lower branches. You can take a nice, soft, right-handed forehand shot up there. Otherwise, right now, the idea is to kind of go a little bit high, have an anhyzer in for 137 feet. 178 feet from its current spot, and it's just a slight elevation dip, otherwise it's pretty level. The things we take into consideration is the tree line is actually part of the Three Rivers parkland, the Elm Creek corridor that goes from Elm Creek Park Reserve up to the Coon Rapids Dam. That is off limits, but considering that it's so thick, I'm not even going to worry about an OB line. Just if you go in there, you're probably not going to penetrate more than 5-10 feet anyway. The basket itself is protected by about 3 trees. So it kind of really cuts down on anything going left-handed or fading in from left to right. So you really have to go from right to left to sneak it in there. Some of the things we have to worry about is some thorn bushes that have to be cleared out, no big deal. The other big concern that we have is pretty soft land. We have to find a way to kind of flatten it down, harden it up a little bit, because right now that might cause some ankle issues. Otherwise, just a nice, soft hyzer in. So what we're doing is we're actually going to tee off here from the corner and head back again towards the property line. The trees again are thick enough where OB is not going to be an issue. It's only 137 feet, framed between kind of 2 taller shrubberies. So a really nice little quick flick of the wrist with a putter or a midge, get you right in there for an easy 2, maybe even an ace or so. Hole 4, by just land distance, it's only 251 feet. But because you're going to have to take a hyzer, it plays more like into about 300, maybe 320. The issue we have here is we've got the corner of the park boundary. You can even see the sign right there. We're not supposed to go into that, so we're going to call that an actual OB line. This is the first hole in the course that's going to have an OB line that you have to watch with a penalty. We're going to make that sign a Mando. That's pretty much just going to take shots away from anyone trying to do an overhand shot. Again, so just we don't have that issue. So we got a Mando, we've got an OB line. You got to imagine that it's a 90-degree angle that keeps following straight down into the corner. So the OB line is going to play a factor. This is a blind shot from the tee box. You're going to have to hyzer in and either have a spot or quickly run out here. The issue that we're going to face here is actually hole 6's basket. It's going to be straight on from the tee box. You may actually confuse it. So one of the main things we have to do when we're building here is to have very clean and obvious fairways so you don't accidentally start shooting at basket 6. The thing with this one is we're playing playing diagonal through the 2 OB lines. We've got this OB line, which is not going to be a factor, but the back OB line is only about 20-25 feet off of the basket. The hole runs at a 45-degree towards the OB line, and so we kind of have the issue of if you go left-handed or go forehand, you skirt over the OB line but come back in. If you're right-handed and try to go out wide and hyzer in, then you're actually coming towards the OB line. And if you go straight at it, well, that's probably maybe your best shot. The one thing we're going to do is remove this one little tiny tree in the middle so the basket is framed only by these 2, this little pine tree and the taller tree, giving you maybe that temptation to go straight at it. Because the basket's only sitting about 20 feet off of the OB line, we're actually going to put a drop zone about 50 feet out. That way you can't go straight at the basket, well, I'll take a circle 3 from only 20 feet away. So it's going to be a drop zone about where that small little shrubby pine tree is up against the line. Otherwise, the line is, as you can see, is this row of trees right there. Hole 6, 358 feet. This is another one of those holes where one of our top priorities is to make a very clean and obvious fairway. Now with the shrub trees that you kind of see here on the left, again, I don't want to make this entire course look like it's a right-friendly course, but unfortunately this is a very right-friendly hole. We've got a lot of shrub trees right here off the tee box. You've got another couple right over here that you'll have to go over about 10 to 20 feet high to come back in. And then the basket is protected by a line of trees on the left side, or the east side of the basket. So if you're going to come in from the left going right, you almost have to kind of dunk over the tree, and at 358 feet, I don't know how easy it is. It is very open on the right-hand side. You just got to be careful of hole 4's fairway. Hole 7, 191 feet. As you can see down that way, it already has kind of a natural fairway carved out in between some of the taller shrubbery, smaller trees. We will obviously try to clean it up a little bit, especially stuff down the middle, making it a very tempting straight-on shot. There is some thorns. We'll obviously take care of the stuff in and around the basket and down the fairway. But the stuff that we see up to the left, that's the danger that we're going to keep in here. So if you end up going at the basket and fading out, that's where you're going to be in. It's going to be kind of a tough time coming back in. If you're a right-handed thrower, it does help. You can go out over the softball field and crash back in. It is clear on the backside. Otherwise, if you're going left-handed or trying to go left to right, you do have to get a little bit of elevation to get over some of these initial trees that are used over here to protect hole 6. And again, it is a little bit thicker in the way of shrubbery on the left side. But the best temptation is obviously to go at it with just the slightest bit of turn. Hole 8, one of our 2 locations. It's, what do we say, 400 feet? 400 feet from here. The idea is that it's finally a wide open, clean shot. If you want to get your roller on, try a different type of shots, this is your opportunity. Despite it being a real open field, the challenge of this one is actually going to be the wind. You come off some farmland over there, some corn land, and during the spring and late in the fall when it's gone, there's nothing to stop the wind. That's your main challenge to this otherwise flat and open hole. It being 400 feet, and with most people not being able to go the entire distance in one shot, it's going to probably take 2 shots. And we've got the road behind it by about 40 feet that will serve as an OB on or over as OB, so it could put a little danger into any type of hot up shots. That's also the reason why it's up against the trees, so hopefully maybe the trees can act a little bit as a shield, allowing you to try to go after it a little bit. All right, this is the second location for hole 8. We have it out here because part of the outreach for the church is to have multi-usage. We have the softball field. They're going to redo that one so it can be used again for softball. It also has enough space where they're thinking about putting a soccer field in there as well. So this does not interfere that even though over there was going to be our primary spot for 8, we have this, at least part of our proposal, to be our secondary spot for 8. It's 391 feet, so it's relatively the same distance. The difference this time being that now instead of kind of throwing into a headwind most of the time, you've got a pretty hard left to right crosswind. So if you're throwing right-handed hyzer, it's probably going to knock it down, or if you throw an anhyzer, you might turn it into a kite. different challenge or different spots, so we might actually every 2 weeks swap between this and the other spot. But right now we're planning on this being our secondary spot. Hole 9, 289 feet. Yes, the majority of the hole has manufactured obstacles and challenges, but we wanted a hole that finished up right in front of hole 1. That way you have a nice flow if you wanted to continue playing. Otherwise you're close to the parking lot. We like the overall idea of it being essentially an island. You've got OP on all 3 sides of the basket. You've got the street, you've got the driveway, and you've got the parking lot, all which is on or over his OP, creating an island. Basket sits about 20 feet off the driveway, so much like hole 5, you can't just overshoot it, come back in, and take your easy circle free. We have multiple drop zones depending on where you go out.